Welcome, everyone, to today's Flex webinar. I'm your host, Marcus Merritt. Today, we're going to talk about, I have the topic listed as Flex Packages Bug or Feature. And I know I was kind of intentionally being coy on the topic, hoping to get a little more interest in it. But there's a little bug that some customers have shown to me, have brought to my attention. And in one place, it is definitely a bug, and it's something I want to warn people to be careful of and make sure to avoid. But in the other place, I think it's a little hidden gem. It's something I've been asking for a long time, and I think a lot of customers will find it very valuable and want to utilize it. And so that's the key reason that I wanted to do this topic for today's webinar. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and share my screen and get started. So over here. Okay. So the key thing in this is it's not technically on packages, but it's related to some inventory settings. Okay. So for this, just to start, I'm going to go in my inventory to audio, and I'm going to go to my speakers here that I like to use, these VRX 932 speakers. Okay. So the first key on this is what it's related to are some tabs that display and are available between the system settings and what happens if I turn them off. Okay. So in here, I have this item, which is a serialized model with accessories. That with accessories gives me this contents tab where I can list items that are going to list on the quote when I drag and drop it there, and they're going to automatically add. Okay. That is controlled through the setting in my structure and availability of model contents. Okay. The key thing here is in Flex 4, so in the past, when I took this and changed it to no, not only did it turn off that tab, but it dumped all the information out of it. It was just all gone. It completely cleared it out. Okay. But in this, and I'm just going to show that even though I just turned that off, right? So I don't have that tab, I don't have that list. If I go in here and drag this item still, it still lists those contents. They're still there. I just don't see the list anymore. I don't see the thing, so I don't know that it's there. And it becomes a hidden problem. I had a customer who really struggled quite a while, had this item where it kept listing these. They changed how they wanted to build a kit or a package. They were listing those things that were accessories of one item, part of the main package now, and they had turned it off, but they had not cleared it out first. And again, if I turned it off in 4, it will clear it all out. But in 5, it just changes the UI to go, oh, well, then you don't need to see this tab anymore. But it doesn't clear the information. Okay. This is the place where I say it is definitely a bug. Okay. But one that I'm not positive I want to put a lot of effort into making them fix, because it might be related to the other one that I think is a little jewel, a little feature that I want to stay around. So I just want to highlight to people that if you want to get rid of contents or accessories in the thing, before you go and turn off the tab, you need to make sure to go to the item and select them all and get rid of them. I don't actually want to get rid of it for this item, and so I'm not going to, but you would just, select all and then get rid of them. And then they won't list on the quote when you do that. Okay. So that's the bug part that we got to keep an eye on. Okay. If you're turning it off, it generally means because you don't want that to list on your quote anymore, you actually have to clear the data first and then remove the tab so people don't add them back in, essentially. Because technically having the tab there that's empty is the same as having no tab. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt to have the tab turned on. It's just about, are you actually using it by having, line items in there? Okay. So that's the key to that. And that is a bug that people do need to avoid. Be careful with. Okay. So here's the other place. Okay. The other place, and I'm going to move to this other item that I'm going to use in my video here. I have, I got to remember how I organize it's not lighting, video, to switchers and my video switcher rack. Okay. I just looked online and found some image of kind of a video switcher rack. This isn't even going to be accurate what's in here, but just kind of a baseline idea. Okay. So in this, right now, I have this item set up under a custom setting that I commonly will recommend to people. Okay. So in this, just as a note, I have this, which currently is a custom setting, but I refer to this as serialized storage with accessories, okay? It's serialized storage, which is yes, no, yes, yes. Tracked by serial number, not model contents, unit container, contents available. But then I want to say model contents, yes, okay? This is under the concept of I have a case that has all the items needed for the package inside of it, but those this is also the item that I want to quote to my customer, and to help ensure that I double check for details, I want those items to list on my quote. Okay, that gives me both the contents tab that we've been talking about and the storage requirements tab that has the same bug. Okay, has the same problem, but here I like it, and I'll explain why. Okay, so key thing on this, okay, like I say, the what I commonly do to recommend this to people is because this, so there's, I'm just going to back up just a little bit in my explanation. So there's two main ways to do a case that has items that live inside of it. Okay, we can generally do the serialized storage, as I've started here, or we can do the serialized package, okay? The difference in that is just this contents available, yes or no, okay? And a lot of times that's what people would prefer. They would want to say, I don't want the items in this to be considered available, okay? I tend to only recommend this serialized package setting for amp racks or other things where 100% of the items are permanently installed inside of it. Okay. And the reason for that is because when it's a serialized package, and I'm not going to change it yet, we don't get the storage requirements tab, which means if there's anything loose in this case, in this rack, I can't put a storage requirement to remind my staff. So I even commonly comment, even if I have an amp rack, well, maybe my amp rack has a power converter or an XLR patch cable inside it in a drawer, or even just tucked in a corner. I want to make sure to remind my guys that that has to make it back in there, and I don't get storage requirements, okay? I've even internally asked and was been basically pushing for at some point during this transition to get storage requirements to not be connected to that same setting, okay? Because I want to be able to remind them of that, okay? In this example, I know lots of customers who would prefer to make this rack a serialized package, okay? Because they don't want these parts and pieces to be available. It's a complete thing. You have to take the whole thing. I don't want them taking just one little part or piece out of this, okay? But in this, there's a drawer probably with some DACs or some decimators or some patch cables of some kind, some SDI cables, some HDMI cables, whatever, okay? All sorts of things might be there, and I can't set the storage requirements for that. I've worked with people to make complicated things where there's like things inside of things to try to mess with the availability. And I just think it's messier than it needs to be. But this bug gives us an opportunity, okay? Because the key thing here where I've at first, so the key is what I tend to have used to recommend it to people is to make it this serialized storage with accessories, okay? And the reason for that is I get my storage requirements, and I've simplified this, theoretical rack to keep it simple. So I can say what goes in it. And in this, even these three items are rack mounted, but this one is loose. This one is not going to be rack mounted. That's what I really want my storage requirements for, okay? But then I also make sure to have those same items in my contents, so I'm claiming them anytime I'm planning to use this. But it still doesn't technically stop from somebody else having some big other event that needs a whole bunch of DACs or decimators and thinking they have enough because they're going to go raid all of my small video switcher racks, okay? They think they would have enough, and you go, I don't actually want you raiding that. Now, again, for you, you may be like, hey, if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do, and I'm going to raid the racks, right? But some people don't want to do that. They want that to be ready to go if it needs to be, and they don't want those to be considered available. Okay. And so this gives us our opportunity in this because it has the same thing where I can set the storage requirements on this. Okay. And I can then go back in and change it to say that the contents are no longer available. And my storage requirements go away. I don't see them anymore. I can't edit them. I don't know what they are. But I can go open the rack here, and it still has them because they're actually still there. I just don't have the UI interface anymore to see it. Okay, so I can still know what they are and have it reminded. Okay, but the key in this, and I'm going to go ahead and package these two other decks in here. Okay, is that if I then go back to my quote here and I fetch, we see now that these are all unavailable. Okay, because I've packed every single one of these inside of one of these containers that I've now said the contents are not available. Okay, now here's the thing though, you have to be careful. And here's the thing I have to warn, if you're getting excited and happy about this, I think that's good, but there are some things we have to be careful. Okay, we can't do the way we've done before, but because we've had these, so they're considered available, and now they're not, which means when I list them here, I'm going to get all these negatives that I have to be prepared for. Now you might go, oh, I can mentally know that that's not really the case. But the key in this is if let me just forcibly, I'm going to update my pull sheet really quick. I'm going to go here on my pull sheet. Okay. I've got this, and then I'm going to go to scan it. Okay. And go to the prep screen. The key thing here is I'm going to scan that same one. We're going to do video rack 2. And you'll see in this, it only checked off the main item. But if I go over to my manifest, I have all those items. But because they're not available, the system says, I'm not going to check off anything because that's a problem in your availability. So that must be others you want loose of what's inside of this. It can't be considering these because these are not available. Okay. So if you're going to take advantage of this, if you're going to find items where you go, I want their parts and pieces to be not available, but I still want the storage requirements, then what you have to do is make sure when you quote it, you don't have contents. Okay. And again, on this, I don't want to just turn off the contents. I need to clear them out. Okay. And for this, what I'm going to then do is I'm going to go and open my copy quote that I made here that is currently blank. And now I'm going to quote my same video rack. Okay. Now in this, I get no accessories. I don't know the details of what in it. And so that's a thing that might be more of a problem. Now you can somewhat solve this if you want. You could choose to put a note automatically in it there. If you want it as a longer, better description, you could instead put it as a child note. You would have to add that by creating a note down in your services and then add it to the suggestions and make it be auto-included. If you kind of want to list it, if you want to know what's inside of it, you could do that. But you can't list the items because they won't get checked off on the pull sheet and you're going to think you're missing gear. Okay. Also, you're going to have all these items with these negatives that you don't actually need to solve for. Okay. But if we do this, I can still have my proper thing. I'm going to close all my other tabs. I can take this and we can push it to my pull sheet. I've got that. Again, I'm not going to get the details under this. I can do some things through notes. I can do some other things, but I'm not going to get the details. I can then go ahead and go to my warehouse. And in this, just to show, I have another one of these. I've got my, oh, I didn't get my cursor there. I've got my VRAC 1. We'll see here on this one, I've already pre-packaged it. Everything's already there. And so it's the key of in this is you're relying more on the storage requirements because you're not going to get that double check. But it does make it so they're not available. So if someone just said, hey, I want a bunch of DACs, they can't consider the ones in these small video switchers racks part of what's available, okay? Or whatever case thing you may want to do with that. So then I can come back here and I say VRAC 1, it will check off my only thing and says I'm 100%. But again, on my manifest, I do actually see that everything went out. They're on my manifest. I've got tracking for them, but they won't check off an item, so I can't list them there. Okay, so that's the key thing. But like I said, I have for the longest time wanted the ability, because I know lots of people who do this, and this is a kind of common example. There's a specific customer in mind that I've done some on-site training for and other work with who really want this. And so I wanted to make sure to bring this up, let that known to be people, and see what else we can do with that. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar. You can always reach out to support@flexrentalsolutions.com, email training@flexrentalsolutions.com with questions or suggestions for future webinar topics. And as always, find good information at helpcenter.flexrentalsolutions.com. Thank you.